relies upon trillions of tiny little atoms, smaller than the eye can see. And when you split an atom, you create energy. And when you create energy, you create life.
Whatever do you mean?
Let me put it in terms that you will understand, my dear Irina Paulina. Imagine, if you will, the theatrical spotlight.
Oh, yes.
Its luminescence is created by directing an oxyhydrogen flame at a cylinder of quicklime. That, being done, a beam of light is projected upon your face, illuminating it for all the world to see.
Oh, light.
But how quickly does that flame burn out?
Oh, indeed.
The energy of a single atom, however, once split, can burn a warming glow upon your face for many a curtain call to come.
Oh!
Preposterous. No, post-prosterous. You might want to study this developing field, young scholar. There's quite a bit of coinage to be made if you're wise.
And lack morals.
Oh, boys, please.
Alexei, do tell more of your teachings in the village. That I would much rather hear.
Oh, well, before this epidemic, I was tutoring the Demi-Tage's children at his summer estate, for I could live quite comfortably off that learning. Each of my students had the benefit of a regulated and standardized syllabus, including a battery of Latin, grammar, Russian history, general philosophy, with a specialized unit in Aristotelian unities of republic progression, and a brief sojourn into the biographic importance of the early Byzantine folk artists of the Lower Crescent on the neo-marketable basket weavers of the Rhone.
Oh.
Yes, I had many under my tutelage.
To be sure, his tutelage wasn't the only thing they were under.
Nothing was ever proven.
A young man thrust into a position of authority. Of course he's going to woo the doe-eyed girls.
Well, I know of one doe-eyed girl who's been awfully free with her attention as of late.
Mama, please.
Oh, isn't it adorable the way children's cheeks turn to blush so easily these days? Why, back in my youth, it took more than a cheap flirtation and the flash of an ankle to get a rise out of me. C'est la vie, as they say. Oh, it is getting chilly in here. I think what we need is fire and spirits. Would anyone like a nip to get a nip?
Certainly I can deal with a bracer. Night falls with haste this time of year.
Alexei Alexeyevich.
I never touch it, thank you.
Oh, all the more for me then. Would you mind setting the logs?
Oh, certainly not.
Abstaining?
I find it easier to maintain my composure when sober.
Oh yes, I'm sure it's your composure that has all your students at Twitter.
Implying?
Not a thing, Professor, not a thing.
Don't let old Snakebite get your hackles up, Trimble. He's just jesting.
I must admit, ladies, my visit here was not entirely for pleasure.
I wasn't aware it was pleasurable at all.
Oh, dear.
And your presence, Grigorovich Samsonovsky, has proved quite providential,
Oh?
as you are the primary player in my tale. Madame Renovskaya, you arrived back in Moscow before you received my last batch of letters.
Oh, well, the Tijuana post is often quite slow. There's more donkeys.
Each of them contained urgent warnings against your return.
Warnings?
If you will allow me a brief moment of vulgarity, our fine doctor here has indeed found a way to bring the dead back to life by way of his mad experiments.
Ah!
But worst of all, our returning loved ones are not quite as peaceable as they were in life.
Oh, please.
I've seen it. My father was the first to fall.
Oh, you poor dear.
Your father shouldn't have been poking his nosy little proboscis into affairs that did not concern him.
He was merely doing his duty as night watchman of this village. Your vile creatures murdered him in cold blood.
Those vile creatures are your comrades, Trofimov. They are merely as you or I, only returned from a horrible fate.
The fate of eternal rest is not horrible. It is rather a welcome relief from the drudgery of this life.
Oh, Trofimov, I did not take you for a fatalist.
Madam, I would have preferred you not return at all. Indeed, a shipwreck, a derailed train would have been preferable to this existence. But when I did not get a response, I assumed you were en route and therefore unreachable. All that's left of this township is desolation and bloodshed.
Can you level with this? Can this be true?
What our little scholar here is dancing around is this. Yes, the dead are living. But don't know they are marauding our village like Christmas mongoose. Yes, it was by my scientific hand that they have returned, but no, it's not part of some nefarious plan. And yes, oh yes, I'm so glad to see you back home, my most beautiful one. You look ravishing, as though you had stepped from my dream.
Oh, do you flatter me? Very well. Why this burgeoning revolution of the undead?
Upon installing my laboratory in the shack beyond the orchard, I hired an assistant, a townsboy. Day in and day out, I worked. I struggled with my work. My brow furrowed beyond frustration, but to no avail. Do you mind if I finish my chore and act approach?
Oh, please do.
There were several trials, but splitting an atom is no easy task. The radioactive materials left over from my experiments I buried deep in the firmament behind the laboratory. Believing it to be an old cabbage patch, one would assume it a safe decision.
Safe!
Yes, safe! However, I did not realize the patch was an unmarked graveyard, a surf cemetery. However, what importance holds an old boneyard?
To honor those who've passed, to name the obvious.
You buried the waste in the cemetery?
Yes, and well, it was later, days later, that I first began hearing the noises, the scratches, splintering, the moans.
The moans. We could hear them from the village.
The pained moans. Yes, pain. It was quite disruptive to my work. At first I thought it a low steam whistle from the station, but the noises increasingly became louder. Then the scratching began. Ripping, splintering sounds of stripping wood as though bones were cracking. Oh yes, quite grotesque. Oh, sound stimulates the mind to horrible imaginings. Yet, imagination daren't compare to this reality. Apparently, my radioactive materials seeped out of their meager containers and permeated the soil in the burial ground. Oh dear. Unfortunately, cheap oak does not ensure a tightly sealed coffin. And eternal rest proved to be an anomaly. For reasons unknown, my decomposing comrades found their cellular activity re-energized, made their way up through the firmament to the ground above. And well,
So, the dead are alive.
indeed.
Yes! Come on, Marshal, we shall take the coach back to the station.
Coaches don't dawdle on this property.
We shall take the neighbor's coach then.
The neighbors are dead.
I shall walk.
I highly advise against that. It is almost night. The dead will shamble.
What are we to do?
What did you say happened to your father and mother?
Father, investigating the moans, finds his way to the doctor's laboratory one night. He was there and he encounters one of the resurrected serfs devouring Grigorovich's assistant like a fatted cat.
I had captured a shambler for observation. It was chained, bound. I know not how it came free.
The rotted serf turns to my father, stumbles towards him. My father shouts for it to halt, but the infernal creature doesn't listen. It lunges. Father is attacked and bitten.
Had I not returned at that very moment and put the specimen down, your father would have suffered a far more dire fate.
Father returned home with his fate eternally sealed. The bite reddened and pussed with infection, and soon seeped into his extremities and into his brain. He went mad. He turned on my mother. Began eating her alive. It was left to me to end both their sufferings. I took a hot poker from the fire and I...
Oh, Alexei.
I shall never erase that image from my mind.
The sun is gone.
Oh, shh. It's just... No, shh. What now?
We wait.
Refill our supplies from the barn in the daylight. Anfisa! Borscht, if you please.
No hurry, Anfisa. Take your time. Oh, my Anfisa. I remember her from my childhood. Such a giving soul. I suckled from her pendulous breasts when mother's cheeks ran dry. There's your exhibit. Must you pout so?
I've not been stranded out of the village at night. At least in a simple townhouse, the entrances would be limited to a door below and a window above. Here we're open to attack. attack from all sides.
Alexei, please, you're being incessantly morbid. You'd imagine a musical number would lighten anyone's mood.
You've only just returned, madam. You've not seen the atrocities I have. The bloody death and resurrection.
Professor, please! Resist your insistent prattling, or I shall throw you out upon the heath myself. Then you shall know death.
Honestly, the next person that utters that damn word will find my boot 5 eyelets deep in his posterior.
Please, smile. We are all trying our honest best to make it through this night. Certainly I never once imagined my homecoming would be such a frightful terror. Running through sun-kissed fields of golden wheat, in flowing, soft cotton dresses, a pastoral scene out of Saison. My own personal servant versed in giving a delightful mani-pedi.
Those days are long gone. The wise ones have all left. The slow ones killed. Some servants remain through a misplaced sense of loyalty. They'll literally rot in their adopted positions.
I never want that feeling, Mama, like one of the shambling undead.
Oh, Marcia, and Fritz is just old.
They're all shambling, Marshal. Shambling, slow creatures, these dedicated slaves. Why, if it were up to me, I would have them all put down like tired dogs.
Pooty, I wouldn't think you'd discount them so easily. You too were a serf once.
Never shall I forget. Life is free when one lacks freedom. As much as serfs know, at least everything's expected of them they know, from sunup till sundown. But, as a leader, the needs of many are put into your tired hands. You're asked to shoulder many tedious responsibilities. It's a task that certainly separates the men from the lads.
But you enjoy your freedom, do you not? In your role as wealthy landowner, certainly the bounteous rubles in your account must give you hope.
I think the only thing one can hope for now is another tomorrow.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. The conversations of men simply drive me to the lower depths of boredom. Masha, let's repair to the linen closet and inquire upon Pepito. I'm sure his little bladder needs releasing by now.
I shall go with you, Irina Polina, in case there's a window I've missed needs boarding. Let me just grab my supplies and we shall off.
Oh, Masha, you should have a talk with him. Cheer him up. Wink, wink.
I'm sorry about your father and mother.
Thank you. You were much more beautiful than I imagined.
Thank you.
Only it's unfortunate that you did not receive my warnings. In my last letter, I implored for you to stay at the port of call until I could return for you.
Oh, what would you have done? Escape with us?
Yes, actually. My family had sequestered enough goods to last us the journey west. Only now they are gone.
Oh.
My family, I mean, the goods still remain. But more than enough to last us the oncoming winter. This one will be especially cold. Desperation and grief. But now you are here. My Masha. My one.
Why didn't you leave earlier?
What do you mean?
Before all this, when your very life wasn't at stake. I, for one, don't plan on staying. We're here, but just for now.
Well, I had my books, my studies. It was more than enough to keep my brain stimulated. When I satiated my desire for physics, I moved on to biology, and from biology to Romance languages. And my tutoring sessions kept me distracted from stretches of boredom.
So you've been told.
It's not nearly as scandalous as Grigorovich lets on. Believe me.
I don't know how I'm going to survive here. Dull.
You'll find ways to adapt.
Alexei Alexeyevich, should we even pretend?
What?
It'll never exist between us.
I'm lost.
You know Mama had expectations for us, you and me, upon our return. That we should meet and fall desperately in love and marry, like some broadsheet romance.